I'm here at Consumerism Mall, Waterloo. I want to talk to you about a consumer cycle paradigm that has gripped us for many, many decades. Now the mall, as you can see, is closed. Pretty much empty. Why? Because of this. And only because of this, COVID-19. Otherwise, this would be bustling with people consuming. And it's that consuming mentality that I want to talk about. One that, and I see it as keeping us buying, ongoing, keeps prices very low, and externalized costs. You can see that with your computer, with your fashion. Did you know that the average American citizen consumes twice as much today than he or she did 50 years ago, would have done 50 years ago? The amount of malls there are in the United States passed the amount of high schools in 1987. What does this say about this paradigm that we call consuming? So the first in the cycle of consuming has us keep on buying and keep on buying and buying and buying. How did they do that? Well, one is planned obsolescence. I don't know if you've heard of that before, but you'll see it with your computer. There's a new part that a new computer comes out, and you say, "Oh, I'll just upgrade it with just buying the part," but you can't because it's a different size, or it just doesn't work with the old computer. So you have to buy the whole one, the whole new one, or you just make something, and this is actually a thing. They build a car or something that is not going to be that good, and eventually will break down, forcing you to buy it again. There's also perceived obsolescence. We see that again with computers. Ooh, I don't have the latest this, that, and you feel bad. Or for fashion, oh, I don't have the latest shoes for this or shoes for that, or shirt or mask. So you have to keep on getting the newest and latest. That's perceived obsolescence. But you also have this machine, this advertising machine that says, you're not enough. You're just not enough. You need this or that in order to keep you going. You know, a child, again, this is in the United States, but I'm sure you can apply it to Canada, watches on average 40,000 advertisements a year. That's crazy. So how do you keep people buying and buying and buying? Well, you have to keep things at the lowest price possible. And to do that, you have to keep wages low. The wages of those who make the material. And those who sell the material, those of you watching likely did a sales job, and you know this to be true, you don't get much money in sales. You have to keep tariffs down so that you can get the goods from one place, made cheaply in another country, and brought, again, cheaply to North America. And then you have to also keep corporate taxes down. All this allows you to keep the prices low as possible. So to keep the prices low, and these are all connected, you have to externalize the costs. And externalize is like saying, let someone else take care of that problem. I got enough to take care of. So the use of chemicals. Synthetic chemicals that we found are even in mother's milk, and that obviously leads to health care. But let someone else take care of the problem of chemicals that we produce. Some 80 to 100,000 are out there. Greenhouse gas emissions. Even though the fashion industry, for example, is second to oil in production, it produces more greenhouse gas in the textile weaving and in making and in the clothes making. It's next to Russia. And then think of where you dispose. Well, you have incinerators, and it's going into the air and polluting the air. Let someone else take care of that. I'm not going to pay for that. In fact, again, in the US, some 4 billion Some 4 billion pounds of toxic chemicals are spewed into the environment. Who's paying for that? Not the people who do it. Let someone else do that. Otherwise, we wouldn't be able to afford all this. And then, or if disposed of, they put it in dumps. Do you remember the Uniroyal incident we talked about, where Uniroyal spewed out after decades toxics into the ground? Well, it's finally being cleaned, and you know where it went? Sarnia. The people of Sarnia, oh, I'm sure it's safe. They're housing the chemicals made by the people in Elmira, Ontario. Let someone else pay for it. This is externalizing the costs. So how do you maintain this cycle of consumerism? Because it has to go. It never stops. For one thing, you have to keep labor rights down. Otherwise, you would have a problem of keeping the prices down. You would have to keep environmental protection down. Make sure policies are in your favor. You have to keep tariffs down, and you would have to also keep corporate taxes down. Once you keep all that, you can keep prices low, and you can keep extracting goods, and you can keep people pay for the advertisements, and then you can get the people to keep on consuming. There's one more thing that has to be done to ensure that that cycle goes, and that's economic growth. That miracle of constantly growing, which we know is impossible in a finite planet. This whole thing is like the Matrix, or like Plato's allegory of the cave. But look, go back to the Matrix. You remember at one point the protagonist, Neo, was offered the blue pill and the red pill. If he took the blue pill, he'd get to go back into La La Land, pretend nothing happened, and live his life. Continue consuming, continue buying the latest products, because that's what we have to do. Or you could take the red pill and show what havoc this is doing on our psyche. We're not happier. On our health, we're not healthier. And our environment, we're doing really poorly. I think it's time we take the red pill.